I'm Bruce Apar, and this is Frank J. Rich of Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog, and we're here with a special mini segment of our regular 30-minute series because we came across a very interesting piece of local history thanks to the CEO of Chase Media Group, Carla Chase, who recently noticed on Facebook, as a graduate herself of Yorktown High School, that a classmate had posted the information that Pete Seeger, who recently passed away, of course, actually performed at Yorktown High School on February 2nd, 1967. So we're talking, what, 46, actually, it's February 2nd, it's almost exactly, within a couple of days, 47 years ago. 47 years ago, almost to the day. And in fact, there's a photo that was posted on Facebook of Pete Seeger on the stage at Yorktown High School with his trademark banjo singing. But it's the Pete Seeger, by the way, we should mention it. You can obviously easily search this if you're not already aware. Is famous for a lot of things, but some of the songs he wrote include "If I Had a Hammer" and "Where Have All the Flowers Gone," which have become, to say the least, standards in the pop music canon, as they say. But the backstory is just we wanted to make note of in this special segment because it is a fascinating bit of local history in the Hudson Valley and specifically in northern Westchester, that Mr. Seeger's performance at the high school, which did go on as scheduled, was certainly not without a great deal of controversy. And a historic community newspaper that was founded by Mr. John Chase, the father of our CEO, Carla Chase, the Yorktowner, which actually was founded in 1966, so it was only maybe less than a year old. It was less than a year old when this story was published. In fact, we're looking at some of the first issues of the paper. And there's a page one story on the January 26, 1967 issue of the Yorktowner that you're looking at right now on the screen. And if you look in the middle of the page, it says, "The week that was for Mr. Seeger," and that's the Yorktowner. It's volume 1, number 15. So this is only the 15th issue of what ultimately became North County News. Of course, it's always interesting to note that the paper was 3 cents, or 3 pennies, as it says at the top, at the time. And so just to sort of encapsulate what happened, and obviously there's always things like this going on in our history from generation to generation. It's part of, frankly, what makes our country a great democracy. So there were, somewhat understandably, because of Mr. Seeger's politics, people who were not happy about him performing there. He was an avowed anti-war activist, among many things. And there was a group of veterans of World War II, disabled veterans in particular, a group of 8 people who took great umbrage at the fact that the school board, the Yorktown Central District School Board, voted and approved Mr. Seeger performing in its building. And these 8 people, representing a certain point of view opposed to the politics and philosophy being espoused by Mr. Seeger, became extremely agitated and actually brought a lawyer in and wanted to take this case to a very higher court. So the school board approved it, and the reason the school board approved it, in part, is because there had been a previous case with Pete Seeger singing in East Meadow, Long Island at a high school, and they blocked him, and that was taken to court, and it was reversed. So the court's ruling was in favor of Pete Seeger performing in this Long Island high school. So when he was going to perform in Westchester, in Yorktown High School, and there was a protest, the school board said, there's a precedent here, and we're going to lose if we try to block him from performing. And a lot of people got upset with the school board despite that precedent. And it was very interesting. I mean, this is, at the time, one of the reasons Mr. Chase started the Yorktowner is to give voice to people on any side of an issue. And there was this page one story. There were letters written by a group of students in the subsequent issue of the Yorktowner, saying, if we live in a democracy, even if you don't agree with what Mr. Seeger represents, shouldn't we be allowed to hear him? Isn't that what the soldiers fought for or fight for in behalf of our country? So isn't that consistent that even they should support him singing there? I mean, they didn't. And like I say, this goes on from generation to generation. We have this back and forth. You know, people. I mean, you served, of course, Frank, in the service, and it's a complicated issue, and we're not going to get into why, you know, one side feels one way and the other side feels the other way. People are going to feel however they do based on a lot of factors.
But it points to something that I think is common, commonly felt but little understood, and that is that every issue is local in America or any place. It's local, and some of the reason why there's such a tremendous move in the direction of local, not only for information and community development, but as well for commerce, is because everything is local.
Right.
And the issues that were raised by Pete Seeger's presence in Yorktown are like many issues that are raised today. It is common and I think celebratory to consider the opportunity for all Americans to come to the table over any issues from any side of the table that they wish, and
right.
I think that's what clearly the Yorktowner was in support of, and certainly I think free Americans stand for.
Right, and I mean, just to bring this to a resolution as far as our segment's concerned, on page 1 of the February 2nd issue of the Yorktowner, in a follow-up story, the headline says, "Court upholds school board decision." So the 8 petitioners who did not want Mr. Seeger to sing in Yorktown High School went to the state Supreme Court level, and a state Supreme Court justice denied them the petition and upheld the school board's decision to allow Mr. Seeger to perform inside the school. And part of what the state Supreme Court justice said was that it would be, quote, unconstitutional to deny Seeger the use of school facilities for a concert, unquote. And of course, he cited that previous case in Long Island that also upheld Mr. Seeger's right to perform. And that's really it. We just felt that it would be interesting to look back at a point in the local history where Mr. Seeger, Pete Seeger, who's now being mourned and celebrated, was very much a part of all of our lives, or at least the lives of the people who were living here at the time. And that's a lot about what Frank Talks with Bruce the Blog is about. So thanks for listening. And by the way, you can go to townlink.com. We're also going to be writing about this same subject on townlink.com, our new website. So thanks very much for watching.